Shaking my effing head. Yeah, that's not all. Let me come over here. Natalie Esquire. Good Lord. The WNBA's latest Instagram post with a message to the WNBA about the latest CBA negotiations. This is a three-parter, folks. A three-parter. Roses are red, violets are blue. We'd love a proposal.
February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day. And the WNBA Players Association just posted what might be the most unprofessional negotiation tactic in professional sports history. We're talking about a three-part Instagram series with heart emojis and relationship metaphors, while actual collective bargaining negotiations hang in the balance. And the reaction from fans, analysts, and even union supporters tells you everything you need to know about how badly this backfired.
The WNBA's latest Instagram post with a message to the WNBA about the latest CBA negotiations. This is a three-parter, folks. A three-parter. Roses are red, violets are blue. We'd love a proposal that values players too. This, quote, situationship has gone on for too long.
Let's be clear about the timing here. We're halfway through February. The season starts in May. That gives them roughly 10 weeks to finalize a collective bargaining agreement that determines everything from salaries to travel accommodations to revenue sharing percentages. Breanna Stewart has hinted there might be movement, but nothing's finalized. And there are still credible rumors floating around that players could strike at the NBA All-Star Game, just like they showed up last year wearing those "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts that became a public relations disaster. So what does the union do in this critical moment? They post Valentine's Day memes.
They're tanking the CBA for Twitter likes and retweets. It's unbelievable. Honestly, they act like this is a game. Like this is a game. Like the owners gave you a 4 times raise in the first year. First year of the new CBA proposal of 4 times. And then it goes way ass up from there by the end of the CBA. I mean, you're getting a huge bump.
Here's what the WNBPA actually posted on their official Instagram account. First slide, roses are red, violets are blue. We'd love a proposal that values players too. Second slide shows a heart with the text. This situationship has gone on for too long. And the third slide reads, maybe it's time to make it official. Now, if you're thinking this sounds like something a college student would post about their complicated dating life, you're not alone. The comments section exploded. Professional union representatives, sports analysts, even WNBA fans who support higher player salaries are asking the same question. What are we doing here?
And this is so unprofessional. I don't get it. My boy CDS Sports Podcast, also, CDS Uncensored. WNBPA keeps screwing up and threatening the greatest opportunity women's basketball has ever had. This immature and counterproductive. Here's a thought. Close it down and go try out for an NBA team. If you make it, you'll get paid well there. And we all know how that's going to go. We all know. Roses are red, violets are blue. We'd love to make a profit. How about you? I swear to God, the owners...
Let's talk about what's actually on the table, because context matters. The owners have already offered a 4 times salary increase in the first year of the new CBA proposal. 4 times. That's not a cost of living adjustment or a modest bump. That's a fundamental restructuring of the pay scale, and it escalates from there throughout the life of the agreement. They've made concessions on housing, travel accommodations, and several other quality-of-life issues the players have been pushing for. Now the union wants a 30% revenue share, which would tie player compensation directly to league income. The problem? The WNBA has never turned a profit in its 28-year history. The NBA has subsidized the league to the tune of roughly $15 million annually, though exact figures vary depending on the year. So when you're negotiating from a position where the league literally loses money, asking for 30% of revenue becomes mathematically complicated. But instead of making that case publicly with data and economic analysis, the union posted Valentine's Day memes.
They believe the word negotiation means get everything we want. No, you're not getting the 30% revenue share. You're not. I thought this was a rather interesting response here. Half of February's gone. I just said that. Aaron D. Drake, the useless 30-ish DEI Harvard grad, supposedly doing negotiations for the WNBPA, is still busy trolling on IG and TikTok, as per usual. They pay her how much for this? Question mark. Clown. Very mature of her. I guess the CBA talks are still in the tank.
The response on social media reveals something important about how this is being perceived. One comment reads, "This is weird from a union. I've worked with unions that employ hundreds, and this is so unprofessional. I don't get it." Another says, "They believe the word negotiation means get everything we want." Someone else pointed out, WNBA keeps screwing up and threatening the greatest opportunity women's basketball has ever had. That last one deserves attention. Because 2024 was a breakthrough year for the WNBA, Caitlin Clark's arrival drove viewership to unprecedented levels. The championship series averaged over 1.6 million viewers. Attendance records fell across the league. Merchandise sales exploded. Corporate sponsorships increased. This was the moment when the WNBA finally had mainstream momentum. And the union is spending that goodwill on Instagram engagement tactics.
Shit. Man, they're absolute effing clowns. Classy, yeah. Is this real? It can't be. Yeah, that's funny. That's real time. That's Adam Silver looking at this post. And y'all had the nerve to talk shit about Kathy Engelbert? Really? You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding. You got the nerve, Nafisia Collier, to come out to your little podium in your little jean jacket and sit up there at a table.
Now let's address the elephant in the room. The WNBPA is led by Executive Director Terry Jackson, but much of the day-to-day operations and public-facing communication appears to be handled by younger staff members who treat social media as the primary negotiation platform. One comment specifically called out Terry Carmichael Jackson's deputy, saying she's a 30-ish Harvard grad supposedly doing negotiations for the WNBA, but still busy trolling on IG and TikTok as per usual. Whether that's fair or not, the perception matters, because when your union's public face is posting relationship memes during critical negotiations, it sends a message about how seriously you're taking the process. And that message is being received loud and clear by the people who actually make the financial decisions. Adam Silver and the NBA ownership group are not going to be moved by Valentine's Day posts. They're going to look at balance sheets, revenue projections, and market sustainability. They're going to ask whether a 30% revenue share makes economic sense for a league that's never been profitable. And when they see the union's public communication strategy, they're going to wonder if they're negotiating with serious professionals or social media managers.
Because that's a joke. I mean, yeah, that's a joke. They sent a Valentine's publicly to the owners. Tell me what you think. Wow. Peace. I'm out.
So let's talk about what happens next, because this matters for the future of the league. First, understand that collective bargaining negotiations are fundamentally about leverage. The players have some leverage because the league doesn't want to strike during a momentum year. The owners have leverage because the league operates at a loss, and they could theoretically shut it down without significant financial impact to the NBA's bottom line. That's an uncomfortable truth, but it's reality. The Valentine's Day post suggests the union either doesn't understand this dynamic or doesn't care. And that's dangerous. Because when you're negotiating from a position of economic weakness, you need to be strategic, professional, and focused on building public support for your position. Instead, the WNBPA is generating headlines for all the wrong reasons. Second, consider the optics. Last year, players wore "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts to the NBA All-Star Game. The problem with that message was the word "owe." The NBA doesn't owe the WNBA anything. The NBA has subsidized the WNBA for nearly 3 decades as an investment in growing women's basketball. That's a choice they make, not an obligation. So when players frame it as something they're owed, it alienates the very people who have been funding the league's existence. This Valentine's Day campaign makes the same mistake. Calling the negotiation a situationship implies the league isn't taking players seriously or isn't committed to the relationship. But the league has offered a 4-time salary increase. They've made concessions on multiple fronts. They're negotiating in good faith. The union's response is to post memes suggesting they're not being valued. Third, think about the message this sends to potential investors and sponsors. The WNBA is trying to position itself as a serious professional sports league worthy of major corporate investment. Companies are looking at whether the league has stable labor relations, professional management, and long-term viability. When they see the players' union posting Valentine's Day relationship jokes during CBA negotiations, what conclusion do you think they draw? Fourth, consider the internal dynamics. Not every WNBA player agrees with the union's aggressive stance or public communication strategy. Some players recognize that a 4-time salary increase is substantial and represents real progress. Some understand the economic realities of a league that's never been profitable. But the union's public position forces all players into the same box, making it harder for moderate voices to advocate for compromise. The Valentine's Day post also reveals something about who's driving the union's strategy. This isn't the kind of communication you'd expect from experienced labor negotiators who've worked in professional sports for decades. This is social media engagement tactics applied to collective bargaining, and there's a fundamental mismatch between those two worlds. Fifth, let's address the comparison to other leagues. When the NBA Players Union negotiates, they bring economic data, revenue projections, and market analysis to the table. When the NFL Players Union negotiates, they hire economists and labor lawyers who understand the complexities of collective bargaining. When the WNBA Players Union negotiates, they post Valentine's Day memes on Instagram. That's not a strategy. That's not leverage. That's not professional labor relations. That's treating a billion-dollar negotiation like a social media campaign. And it's not going to work. Sixth, consider what this means for Caitlin Clark and the other young stars who just elevated the league's profile. Clark drove unprecedented viewership, sold out arenas, and generated mainstream media coverage the WNBA has never experienced. She did that while making roughly $76,000 in base salary her rookie year, well below what her market value would justify. She has every right to expect significant compensation increases in future contracts. But when the union's public strategy involves Valentine's Day memes and situationship jokes, it undermines the credibility of the entire negotiation. It makes it easier for critics to dismiss player concerns as unserious, and it potentially costs players like Clark leverage they've earned through actual on-court performance and market impact. Seventh, think about the historical moment we're in. Women's basketball is having a genuine cultural breakthrough. The NCAA tournament drew massive ratings. The WNBA draft became must-see television. Regular season games appeared on major networks in prime time. This is the moment when the league could establish itself as a permanent fixture in the American sports landscape. And the union is spending that moment on Instagram engagement tactics that generate mockery instead of support. Eighth, let's address the fundamental economic question. Should WNBA players make more money? Absolutely. The 4 times increase the owners have offered is a step in the right direction, but there's room for further growth as the league's revenue increases. Players like Aja Wilson, Breanna Stewart, and Sabrina Ionescu are world-class athletes who deserve compensation that reflects their skill level and market impact. But here's the thing, making that case requires economic arguments, not relationship metaphors. It requires showing how increased player compensation will drive further league growth, attract better talent, and create a sustainable business model. It requires professional negotiation tactics, not social media campaigns. The Valentine's Day post does the opposite. It reduces a complex economic negotiation to a joke, and in doing so, it undermines the legitimate arguments for higher player compensation. Ninth, consider the leadership question. Terry Jackson has been the WNBPA executive director since 2016. Under her leadership, the union has become increasingly confrontational in its public messaging while achieving mixed results in actual negotiations. The 2020 CBA included some improvements, but the fundamental economic challenges remain. And now in 2025, with the league at a critical juncture, the union's public strategy involves Valentine's Day memes. That raises questions about whether the current leadership is equipped to navigate this moment. Professional sports unions need leaders who understand labor law, economic analysis, and strategic communication. They need people who can build coalitions, manage public perception, and negotiate effectively with sophisticated ownership groups. They don't need social media managers posting relationship jokes during critical negotiations. 10th, let's talk about what the union should be doing instead. If they want to build public support for higher salaries, they should release detailed economic analysis showing how the WNBA's revenue growth justifies increased player compensation. They should highlight specific examples of how the current pay scale affects player quality of life. They should make the case that investing more in player salaries will attract better talent, improve the on-court product, and drive further revenue growth. They should be professional, data-driven, and strategic. Instead, they're posting Valentine's Day memes. The fundamental problem here is that the WNBPA is treating a labor negotiation like a social media campaign. And those are two completely different things. Social media rewards engagement, controversy, and viral moments. Labor negotiations reward preparation, professionalism, and strategic thinking. You can't approach collective bargaining the same way you approach TikTok trends. So where does this leave us? The season starts in May. The CBA isn't finalized. The union is posting relationship memes. The owners are offering 4 times salary increases that the union hasn't accepted. And everyone watching this unfold is asking the same question: what are we doing here? The WNBA had momentum. Real, genuine, unprecedented momentum. And the players' union is risking all of it for Instagram engagement. That's not strategy. That's not leadership. That's not professional labor relations. That's just sad. So here's my question for you. If you were Adam Silver looking at these Valentine's Day posts, would you take the union more seriously or less seriously? Would you be more inclined to offer additional concessions, or would you dig in and wait for the players to get serious about actual negotiations? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this situation is far from over, and the decisions made in the next few weeks will determine whether the WNBA capitalizes on its breakthrough moment or squanders it entirely.